Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi. Today we're not doing a pick a card reading. We are going to be doing a channeled reading where we are going to be seeing where human beings are going to be in 100 years. What are human beings going to be up to? What's life going to be like? What changes would have happened? Really excited to do this. So if you didn't see my poll a couple of days ago, I basically asked you guys if you would like me to do videos and add videos where instead of them like being pick a cards, I would just channel guidance from Mother Gaia, different energies. I would tap into times of old and like Earth's mysteries and things like that. And 91% of you said you wanted to see that, which made me really happy because I wanted to actually do it when I started my channel before, but pick a cards took the focus, and pick a cards are what I'm always going to be doing on my channel. They're the main priority, but I wanted to do these on the sides because I think it would be really cool, and I see such cool things in my Akashic record readings like that anyway, so I thought it would be cool to make videos centered on that. So if you guys have any ideas for anything that you've always wondered about and would like me to look at, feel free to leave it in the comment section. I've got a long list, but I'll be just seeing what I'm drawn to and taking it there. So in today's video, we're going to be channeling life on Earth in 100 years. So I'm going to get straight in. Okay, spirit guides. Show me Earth in 100 years, please, spirit guides. Tap me into Earth in 100 years. What will Earth look like? What will Earth be like? What will Earth be like in 100 years? What will Earth be like in 100 years? Tap me into Earth in 100 years, please, spirit guides. Okay, we have the King of Swords. We have the King of Pentacles. We have Death. We have the Devil, which I'm going to have to cover. I need a bigger crystal. We're going to need a bigger boat. Okay, the Devil. And the Two of Pentacles, and I'm going to put 3 below. If you watch my personal readings, that's normally what I do. I'll do 3 below. So Earth in 100 years, please, spirit guides. Earth in 100 years. Show me Earth in 100 years. Knight of Swords. Okay, the Emperor. What are human beings going to be up to in 100 years? Oh, we've got 2. All right. 2 of Wands, Judgment. Okay. My heart space feels like it's opening. We have the Knight of Cups at the back of the deck. That's quite a few cards, more than I thought, but it's okay. My heart space feels like it's opening. Like I literally feel the energy that I'm being placed into in terms of human beings. There's a level of empathy, like a rupture that's coming through. And I think a lot of it has to do with, you know how when a lot of things happened 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, where there were, let's just say, land stolen and things like that. You guys know, you catch my drift. There wasn't like social media, so we could really see the brunt of it, if that makes sense. Now there is, and I feel like this is going to continue over the next 100 years, where there's something about social media and having empathy for, it feels like my brothers and sisters. That's what I'm being shown in terms of a collective awareness from a human perspective. There's a level of compassion and there's a lot more focus on a togetherness rather than there is, you know how we look up to politicians and celebrities. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that's gonna die out. It really does feel like it's dying out. There's much more of a sense of community. I keep being shown like there's such more of a level of empathy and compassion, and it does feel that way towards animals as well. So there's a strong level, because I'm being shown energetic shifts, and I'm being shown like timelines almost being woven. So I'm being shown frequencies coming through where we're going to reach a point in 100 years where people just feel more empathetic, and it wouldn't shock me if a lot more people, I feel I'm being shown like the clairsentient gift, and I'm being shown that being that muscle being worked on. So like when we have psychic gifts, we have to kind of work on it. And I keep being shown the clairsentience and that being worked on. So it wouldn't shock me if like clairsentience becomes somewhat of a norm. There's like a reference of people being able to feel other people's emotions. I don't know if there's going to be some sort of scientific breakthrough or something that's proven scientifically where science will say, you know, we're able to pick up on other people's thoughts, other people's feelings, but there'll be like proof like solidly, because there's a feeling of like there's an inner understanding and an inner knowing of like empathy here. We're much more compassionate than what we were before. But there's a reference of a key, it feels like a key because it's almost like a portal where I'm being shown social media, and I feel like that may be where a lot of that kind of comes in, if that makes sense. That may be where a lot of those sparks are kind of created within people, because it's like now we're able to see the travesties like all over the world and what's really happening. It's very hard for it to be brushed under the rug, and we're able to see other people's hurts and pains and sadness. We see people grieve, we see people you know, even when you scroll on TikTok, you'll see other people's realities and they could be crying about something that's happening in their life. We're more susceptible and open to that, and it feels like there's a lot more compassion for that and understanding, and that's where I keep being shown community. Now I do see as well, there's also a reference of you know when people say like shop small, shop like local, I keep being shown that coming in, but it may come in after a period of like, I'm being shown kind of like a tower moment here where, how do I put it into words? You know how we have like big like Walmarts, and in the UK we have like Tesco and Morrison's, we have like big supermarkets, and that's where we go. There's like a reference of like a frustration. So I do kind of feel, especially with the King of Pentacles, I do see prices over, this isn't in 100 years, this is like over the next like 100 years. You know how we've got like the cost of living and everything now? I feel like it might hit a bit of a brink. But it's gonna create a tower moment where I see people more focused on that, like the land that they're on, and like, let's just say like local farmers or local shops. And I feel like it's gonna turn people that way. And I feel like in doing that, I keep being shown like a reference of, you know, like brands, like we'll have like Chanel and Dior and things like that. I almost see them losing their importance, because I see human beings activating their heart space where it's like, that's not important. I don't need to pay for this and this. It's like and I mean that more as well, like in the sense of like if you go into Walmart and you'd get like fruit and veg from there, it's like that's getting too pricey. But then I see people almost taking it into their own hands in their community, and it's like, well, I'm going here because I like where the money's going. It's going back into like the land, and it's going back into the community, and that way, with it supporting it that way, it's like I'm getting what I'm paying for, and I'm getting something of substance. Just because those were fancy apples in Walmart or Tesco or whatever, I don't really need to pay the extra when I can get fresh ones here. So there's a reference of that, and I think that's going to have a rippling effect towards what we purchase and buy, in terms of like, you know how we're very consumery right now over the world, like we're influenced a lot. Like there were the Stanley Cups, and there were the I'm trying to think of things that are like that. Like back in 2016 it was the Kylie lip kits or whatever. Like even in like our homes, it's like certain gadgets. Because of that, it started off with food and like supermarkets and people turning towards community. But because of that, then it's almost like something's activating within, where it's like there's more of a focus on community, and there's like a naturistic aspect. There's that empathic aspect. Like there's an intent behind what I'm buying. Like I'm not just like, how do I put this into words? I'm not just mindlessly buying any of these things, if that makes sense. Like when I'm buying these apples from this like farmer, or when I'm buying these clothes made from that person, there was intent behind it. It's like people wanting real-ish, you know, people wanting real stuff. So because of that, the focus, whereas now a lot of the times in like the media, it's like we want the flashy or whatever, that's gonna shift. I feel like it's already started, to be honest with you, but I feel like it's gonna get to a point where it's like, I want stuff with meaning, I want stuff with intent, and I see people being a lot more practical. And because of that, there's a big focus on waste as well. coming into the conscious collective over the next 100 years, because I see in 100 years time there's a reference on like I'm thinking before I'm doing. That's what I feel. How will this affect, like if I just chuck this oil outside, how is it going to affect nature if I do that? If I go and do this, how is it going to affect that? Like there's more of a conscious, how is this going to affect somebody else? And it feels ingrained in, because there's a stronger level of empathy, and the clairesentience muscle feels like it has been worked on, if that makes sense. So I do see we're going to see a fall in consumerism and all of that. I also do feel Knight of Swords, the Emperor, Judgment, the Two of Wands, because I keep seeing these energies starting to activate anyway, but I feel like over the next 100 years there's kind of like a push and pull, and I think once it's going to get to a point where like there's going to be a tower moment, and I feels like in the next 50 years, it doesn't feel 100, it feels in the next 50 years, where I don't know if there's going to be some sort of scandal. I don't know if there's going to be like some sort of, when I say uprising, it don't be scared, it's not like anything to fear, it's more so people just having enough. And then it's like, you know how recently on social media people were doing like a block out and block, because it was like people had enough with celebrities. I see something happening like that, but it feels like it's something to do with supermarkets, it's something to do with foods in the supermarkets, or foods containing certain ingredients or things. It's like what is this energy? It's like it's this price that's connected to it, but it's more than just the price. It's like I feel like everything's becoming fake. Like I'm not getting I see a lot of people questioning, like, why are we even living like this? Like, why don't we, like, people are going, why don't we just start our own like situation where we start building our own like crops, and then like that trickles on and it has an effect. And then people are like, why are we paying for these things? Like, why are we paying for these foods? Or why are we putting, it's like, it's like we're questioning, why are we putting our energy into this? Why are we putting our money into this? Because something's hitting boiling point. There's going to be some sort, and it's to do with like Walmart and supermarkets are huge here, but it feels like consumerism at the same time. But it's almost like I'm just naturally, without even thinking about it, this is where I naturally go. But there's like a collective like consciousness awakening where people are going to start, there's something about growing out like your own food, or doing things yourselves. And I feel like then it's going to start becoming affordable. So then people that obviously financially can't go and buy organic and go other places and do all of those type of things, they're going to be able to financially go to these people, because there's going to be more of a rise of it and it's going to be more affordable. And then I see a devaluation of supermarkets. It's something to do with supermarkets. There's like a devaluation of supermarkets. There's a devaluation of, like, I want to say designer things, but it doesn't necessarily feel like designer. And it's not the case of like, ooh, don't buy designer, buy this. It doesn't feel like that. It's like there's no intent behind that. Like, I see people like, I want to wear clothes with a story. Like, I want clothes that are being that are like ethically made and they have a story and they have a meaning. So it's like, I wear this it's like I'm connecting to clothes because it's like how I'm tapping into an energy where it's like I'm wearing these clothes because it's like a statement piece, and I'm not so worried about having like 100 pieces in my home. It's like I'm just having this because it means something to me and it has this pattern and this is me type of thing. And it's like there's less of a focus on waste, and it's like this has intent behind it as to why I bought it, you know. So I'm not saying like designer things are completely going to go, or even consumerism is completely going to go, but I do feel it's not going to have the importance that it has today, which is quite weird to think about when you look at the state of the world today. But there's going to become, I keep being shown 42, and I don't know if I'm being told 2042 or if in the next 42 years, but it feels like within the next 50 years there's going to be some sort of like it feels like an uprising, or like we're going to try and do something different. But when I say uprising, it doesn't feel like anything violent or anything like that. It's most like, oh my god, we've had enough. And then I see different people, because it's like a collective seed that happens where it's like different people around the world, and it's like, we're going to start doing this, we're going to start doing that, and things become a lot more affordable. Like, I'm even being shown people creating their own like fragrances, and you have like potpourri, and you have like candles. I see people making their own, because it's like, I'm very conscious of what's going into this, because there needs to be intent with it. You know what I mean? It's me questioning what's really in that candle, what ingredients are like, I'm questioning all these things. What's really going into this? What's really going into that? And that mirrors that clairsentience of that deep feeling of you know, when you're clairsentient and you have those empath abilities very strong, foods can affect you, drinks can affect you, other people can affect you. So there's a reference of like intent, what's going into this? What is going into this? There's definitely a focus of that. Like really, really strongly. There's more of like an empathic nature, you know? I want to take a look now at like just environments, and like what will we be up to, like what will we be doing, that sort of thing. What do we do for fun? What technological advancements? I want to see that as well. So let's take a look at that too. That's given me a lot of hope. I was a bit worried that I would see something that was, you know, quite scary, but that's kind of given me hope. But I do feel like there's going to be a moment where it feels like it gets worse before it gets better, type of thing. Like the arrow is going to be pulled back to be shot forward, in terms of, it feels like consumerism, something with the supermarkets is happening. Something with supermarkets and food, and I don't see shortages though. I know like a lot of people have said online, like there's conspiracy theories of like there's going to be shortages and stuff, and I know there are. Obviously there's like the cost of living and stuff, but I'm not seeing too much of that. It's more like, what are they putting in this? Where are they even getting this from? Like, what am I actually putting in my body? And like, what does my money really go into? That's what I feel. I feel like I'm questioning things. Where's this money going to? Who is this feeding? Whose mouth is this feeding? And is it being fed back into community? Like, that's what I feel like I'm questioning more. Why have the apples got that glimmer on them? Why is that onion in plastic? It doesn't need to be. Like, there's a lot of focus on that, and people kind of feeling, I don't know if something's going to happen where there may be something that's revealed to us that's going to like shock people, or like, oh my god, I never would have known, to do with like supermarkets, or like the consumerism side, because it's like, how I never would have known that that's how we receive this, or I never would have known that's what goes into this. I can't believe that I was doing this, or I can't believe I was buying this, or I can't believe it was going in. There's going to be some sort of like scandal or something that comes to the collective awareness where people are going to be like frustrated, like, I can't believe this, that right now we're just, it's almost like it's in plain sight, but we don't really think about it. And then it's going to be like, oh my god. And then there's going to be like a frustration, and people caring about what's going into what. So it could be like that there's like a part of the earth where, I know like there's places in the earth where people put landfill, but it feels like something like that, where something's going, what something is harming. And I feel like it's going to have this kind of collective like, oh my god. And I see like an activation in people where it's like, I want to know what ingredients are in what. I want to know what this is feeding. And there may be a few. It doesn't have to be one. It could be a few things in a short period of time. Like, I want to know what ingredients are in this. Or I want to know what, whose mouths I'm feeding. I want to know where this money is going. It could even be on the taxes side as well. Like, what are my taxes funding? There's like a breaking point where it all kind of feels like a melting point, where there's going to be that, it's like people turning inward and then focusing on community. Because it's like, I trust that Roy down the road is making his apples in, you know, he has apple trees and he's picking his apples, and I know that he looks after them and he washes them, and there's intent there, and he's feeding his family. And it's like, I love that this is, like, I know there's intent there. That's what I'm being shown. That's what I'm being shown. It's something like, I'd rather have apples from Roy than like from Tesco or Walmart or, you know, all the other places. I'd rather have them from Roy, you know, because he's making them with intent, you know. So there's that type of thing there. But I think something's going to come out. I don't know whether it's 2042 or it's like around the next 50 years where something's going to be like, there may be a few like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is what we were eating, or I can't believe that this is what they were putting in it, or I can't believe that this is where that money was going. Like there's something there that I see a collective like, oh my God, like that time. It's like when we were told smoking was healthy for us back in the day, like doctors used to literally say it was like FDA approved, oh yeah, smoking's fine, like it's healthy for you, and then it turns out that it causes cancer. So it's something like that where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe we were doing that. We were told that it was fine. Like it's that sort of thing. Yeah, okay, let's take a look now, Spirit, into just how life would be in 100 years. What's life going to be like? What's like the average day looking like? What advancements are there? What advancements are there? There's a focus on the water. There's a big focus on the water. I just got shown a vision of people being concerned about the ocean. I know people are already concerned, but it feels like there's some sort of collective focus. The Chariot. I see, you know, like, I don't know if mines, don't call me dumb, I don't know, I'm not in the mining community. I don't know if mines are still open, like people still mine, and I mean that in the sense of like, for like coal and stuff like that. I know there's awful things happening in certain parts of the world where people are mining for like certain things, are being forced to mine, let's say, for certain things. But there's this feeling of like, I feel like there's a shutdown of that, but it's making me think as well, you know, like we have crystals. There's a focus away from crystals, quite interestingly, but not because it's like, oh, we don't connect with crystals. That's not what it is. It's like, there's this feeling of leave the earth alone, because there's something about mining and it's like, no. Because of course with crystals, you have to mine for crystals, but there's a reference of stop doing that. Like that feels frowned upon. Like there's other ways we can get things. I don't feel like I want to mine for things like that. I feel a focus of leave the earth alone, and that's why I'm going to the ocean as well. And it's like, leave the earth alone. There's a really I feel like there's going to be protective measures over what we can take from the earth, in the sense of like, you know how you have companies, like with what's happening in Congo, they're literally, you know, what's happening there, we have people that are having to mine, they're being forced to mine for things, and it's inhumane. But then also it's like, I feel like there's this feeling of our minds in 100 years, we're looking back and it's like the earth's being gutted. Like even with crystals like this, the earth's being gutted. We're gutting the earth. We're literally, that's how I feel in this energy. It's like where, yeah, I feel like we're gutting the earth, and I feel a shock now. I'm looking back and I'm like, why were we doing that? And there's a focus on the ocean, because I saw this before, and that's what they're showing me as like a vision, but I saw this before where they had like an ocean cleanup thing where they had a massive net and they were getting rubbish. I feel like there's going to be money put into things like that. Because I feel like we're getting rubbish. There's something about we need, like I almost feel sick about it. Like that would make anyone feel like that energetically, because it's like, wow, we are really ruining the earth, and it is happening. But there's that like reference in 100 years from now where my heart hurts. I'm like, why were we doing that? Why were we taking that? Why were we taking the minerals like that? Why were we doing that? And it's like, I'm thinking of like deforestation as well. It's like, why were we doing that? Why were we, oh my God, like there's a focus there on that. We may as well find, you know, I said about like there may be like a big thing that comes to our attention in the next 50 years that's going to make us think of, it's going to make us think like, where's our money going, whatever. It might be connected to something to do with like mining or gutting the earth in some way, because it's like whatever it is that we're trying to get from the earth that maybe we're dependent on now, I see like a devaluation there, like we're not focused on it now. That's not something we really care about, like, and I don't know what that would be. And I keep hearing solar energy. There's something that we're going to be able to, there's something that maybe we're dependent on now because of a mineral in the earth that we're going to be able to replace with solar energy. We're going to be able to replace it with solar, like solar power type of, that type of thing. Or it doesn't have to be, it's something to do with the sun, because we're more focused on natural things, and it's going to be able to power, it's going to be powered through that. Because it's almost like collectively giving up on something. It's like, this is bad, we don't do this anymore. I'm trying to think of what we've already done that I could mirror that with. What if human beings given up because we know that that's like really harmful? I can't think right now, but that's what I feel. So there's a lot of focus on like cleaning up. I feel like the future generations are going to be cleaning up our mess. Honestly, that's what I feel. There's a lot of empathy here. And I know sometimes us, we're all here, and especially when we are tapped in with intent, like I try to like not use plastic, and I try to make these little changes, but even though we all make changes collectively, we all sometimes add to problems even without realizing it. And I feel like the future generations are going to be cleaning that up. And I think there's going to be realizations even with our generations over the next 50 years where it's like, oh my God, I never knew that would have been so harmful type of thing. And again, it's something to do with social media, lovers. Something's going to be brought to our attention via social media, but it's something that isn't happening right now. This is something that's going to happen later on. This isn't anything we know about right now. This is something that's going to come up later on, because there's like a collective kind of outrage, or like, oh my God. 7 of Swords. Okay, the advancements. Justice at the back of the deck. What advancements, spirit guides, are human beings going to bring forward? There's a lot of focus on solar energy and the sun. There's a lot of focus on that. I don't know why there's a focus on gardens. Like you have homes with like obviously gardens, but then there's certain places in the world that like wouldn't. If you're in like a high-rise apartment, or if you're in like in the UK, I've noticed, and I don't know if I'm just like reading what I've seen from America wrong, I'm just choosing like the memories that I've seen of America, but they seem like they have bigger gardens than we do over here in the UK. Like we kind of have small little gardens, if that makes sense. There's a reference of like gardens being a big feature of homes, and a lot of investment going into that, because I keep being shown a lot of, again, nature being added, like I'm being shown plots of land, like people having plots of land for themselves. Like that's how it feels. There's going to be a bigger focus on gardens, and being outside more. That's what I keep being shown. How like right now we think of like interior design, and you think of like trends at the moment. Like we have those panel walls being like a trend. I remember when there was like a crushed velvet trend. It feels like there's going to be a trend, but not like trend in the sense of this is going to come and go. It's like this is a big feature for a home. Like you have to have it. It's almost like human beings need this. That's how it feels. Human beings need this. They need land, or they need grass, or they need this space here. Like it's like we need this. Human beings have to have that. So I don't know if it's going to be like an acquirement in 100 years. Like you must have, like even if you're in a high-rise building, like you must have like some sort of patio with nature. Like there needs to be something like that. Because there's this reference of like, I feel like we're packed like sardines, and that needs to change. Where there needs to be more room for nature, it feels. And there's a big focus as well on preserving like wildlife. So, because again, it's for 2 reasons. The first one being there's that compassion of we need to look after the wildlife, but there's also for the environment this needs to be the case. So there's both, but I see a lot of intention there where I feel like there may be, when you build, when you see like architecture things, and like, people are building like towns, and they don't even think before they build like whose home they're on. There could have been a bunch of bears living there could have been a whole ecosystem living there, and they don't think. That's going to be different. It's almost like we're building around something. there's more of an intent. We're building around something. That's how I feel. In terms of phones, I don't know why I'm seeing something really long. So this is my old phone that I have here. I see something long like this. Something like long. It's like a long piece of technology. It's like a bar. You know how phones get bigger and bigger and bigger? It feels like that, but it's long. I feel like I'm holding a bar technology-wise. I just got a glimmer of it in my head. It's like a bar. It's really interesting. I'm being shown a bar like this, and then I'm putting it down, and there's a keyboard, and I can type like it's a keyboard, like this. I don't know how you'd fit that in your pocket, but that's what I'm being shown. It's like a long piece of technology. There's so much more focus on the land and nature. So much more. There may even be, I don't know how I feel about this, but I'm seeing people like paying for things with their fingerprint, or being able to access things with a fingerprint. So it could be like a lock on a door. You can only get in with a fingerprint, or like there's something to do with a fingerprint. It doesn't have to be a lock on the door. I'm just being shown people doing something with a fingerprint. You know how you used to open old phones with a fingerprint? Something kind of like that, but it's to do with, I don't know if this is like I'm going into shops and I'm paying with my fingerprint, or there's something to do with fingerprints that's gonna be connected to something. But it feels like a phase. It's gonna phase out as quickly as it comes, I'm being told. Something's gonna be like, you know, like how we have like those cameras on the doors. What are they called? Door rings. You know, the door rings. I'm sure that's what they're called. Door rings. Ring lights. I don't know. I've forgotten the name. Sorry guys. When I channel, my words leave my brain. But there's gonna be something like that. But it's gonna be a phase with fingerprints. It's gonna be over quickly though. I see people discarding that quite quickly. But I see it being a bit of a craze. It's to do with fingerprints. I feel like I'm paying for something in a shop, or I'm getting into my home with this. I'm not sure what that is. It's making me think as well of like facial recognition. You know, when you get in your phone, so you have facial recognition, but it feels like on a larger scale of like facial recognition to get in the house, facial recognition to pay for your groceries or whatever. Like say now there's like a community kind of like supermarket. It's almost like your face would be registered, so your face kind of pays with the money from your bank, or your fingerprint would pay. But it doesn't feel like on a large scale. This feels like in a community. So if there's like your local Target or whatever, like your local Marks and Spencers or whatever it is everywhere, that's how it feels. But it feels like it's going to be over as quick as it starts. It doesn't feel like it's going to last too long. It could go on for maybe like a decade and then it'll be over. And that's within the next 100 years. That's not in 100 years, it's within that time frame. Anything else in 100 years? What are human beings going to be doing? What's their life going to be like? What are human beings going to be doing, spirit guides? Life, you know when you walk down like city centers or whatever, and there's like murals and there's like spray print, or people say it's like graffiti. I almost feel like that's encouraged. Like, you know how we look at it like, oh, graffiti, like, you know how it's pushed on us like illegal, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be spray painting or whatever. I almost feel like there's going to be walls and things put up where it's almost going to be encouraged, like create your art, like create art on it. That's what I feel, because it's like there's this yearning from the collective of like, I want to see people's creations. I want more of this to gather us. Like I want to see more of this. I want to hear more of that music. I want to see more colour. I want that brightness. Like I keep being shown towns being more colourful as well. Like, you know how you have like suburban areas or whatever and everything kind of like looks the same. There's a reference of people being unique and adding colour. Like, and also being allowed to, because I know like when you rent a home, you're not allowed to make changes. And I know like you can like buy a home and there's usually like a standard of how it's created. There's more of a focus of like, how do we want to create this on like the outside? Like it's almost like the world feels more colourful in 100 years. and it's encouraged for, like, yeah, it feels like it's encouraged. That's how it feels. I feel like I'm walking down like what would be a city, and there's graffiti, but it's like I feel like it's beautiful, and there's flowers, and there's like graffiti everywhere, but it's like painting. It's like murals and art, and it's making me think of Banksy, like more of that. And it wouldn't shock me over the next like 100 years we see more of like Banksy and like people like that coming out and painting and that sort of thing. Like I see a lot of that coming out, like creativity is coming out, I feel. That's what I'm being shown as well. What am I being shown? I'm being shown like a type of, you know how you have mobility scooters? I see like a new form of them. I see someone whizzing down a street, but it's almost like it literally looks like a chair, you know, like the school chairs where you're like in the chair and then you have the desk in front of you. It literally feels like that with wheels, but it's not like the mobility scooters that we see. It looks different because my legs are straight. It's reminding me of like if you've ever seen Harry Potter, with Hagrid, he has his motorbike, and then on the side of his motorbike he has like a little kind of car thing. I see a lot, like, there's something about cars, but not how we know them now. There's some sort of car or mobility that's going to be created where it's like, it's not manual like a scooter or a bike, but it's not like petrol, diesel, fuel, like a car. It's like I literally feel like I'm watching a school desk roll about. Like I'm more open, like I can stop and chat, but I'm not fueling it. Like I'm not on a bike or a scooter. Like I don't know, there's like more of that I see people doing, like people using them. I don't know why, instead of cars or alongside cars, or it could be like on a cycle path. If I had to describe it as anything, it's like a mobility scooter, but it's different. My legs are straight and I feel like I'm steering it like a go-kart, but I'm out in the open, like there's nothing over my head. I see something like that, but it doesn't feel like I'm controlling it with like a wheel, but it doesn't feel like it's being powered by like petrol, diesel. I don't see like fuels. It could even be electric, but I don't feel like anything's powering it, like any fuels going into it. That's quite interesting. Okay. I know we have like, I feel like we'll still have our mobile phones, but there's something about this bar that's going to be something like of a focus, like this long bar that's going to be how I guess the phone is a big part of everyone's day now. Or like when Apple products came out and they were a part of everyone's day, there's going to be some sort of bar, like an electric bar, and it's going to be a part of everyone's day. That's what I'm being shown. It's quite interesting. I'm trying to see if I can tap more into that, but it feels like it would be like a phone. So I don't know if that's the future of a phone, or if that's something that's going to replace a phone, or if that's something that's just going to be like an extra thing that human beings have on their person type of thing, which I can't, honestly what I'm seeing is like a long phone this big and it turns into a bar and I'm using it as a keyboard to type. That's how it feels. There's a big focus on community, such a big focus on community. I'm not saying that, like, obviously we have the police and things like that. I'm not saying they're going, because I don't see them going. I still see that whole thing being a thing. There's still like levels of like order and all of that, you know, however you look at it, that's just what I'm being shown. That's still around, but there's such more of a reference of community and like run into the community for help if you needed it type of thing. Like we're more, like I'm being shown what would look like little villages. Like there's such a tribal feel coming back, like 100%. And it like when I'm in it I feel safe. That's how I feel really safe. There's such a focus of togetherness as well. There may be an animal that's domesticated or starts getting domesticated, and I'm being told this is something we're already seeing signs of. So there's an animal that I feel like human beings almost like taken in, whether it's like as a quote unquote pet or just like part of the like family type of thing. but I see an animal being domesticated that we're more likely to have in our homes that we wouldn't have before. Or at least, because I'm being shown gardens and nature, it's like this is part of the family type of thing. There's an animal that's going to be more domestic. I don't think it's going to be fully domesticated, but it's going to be like normal. Like if you saw somebody have this as a pet now in 2024, we'd be like, oh my god, what? But in 100 years, it's going to be like, oh, of course. Like it would be normal. And I don't know if it's foxes. I don't know if it's foxes or if it's some sort of cat, not the cats that we have, like a different type, you know, you have like bobcats and stuff. I don't know if it's that. I asked if it's wolves and Spirit said it's not wolves. It's definitely not wolves. Could be foxes. But I'm also thinking of birds and I'm thinking of pigeons because they were domesticated before and then we abandoned them. It could be that we domesticate them again just to, you know, it's like I'm giving them a home. Again, it's that empathy. I'm giving you a home. I'm giving you a safe space and well, you're part of me type of thing. There's an animal that's going to be domesticated. Yeah. Anything else? Is there anything about like entertainment or just like what would we do for fun in 100 years? What are we doing for fun in 100 years, please, Spirit? Something fun that we'll be doing in 100 years. What am I being shown? I feel like I'm creating, like, I feel like I'm creating things. Like there's such a focus on creativity and art, but I feel like I'm creating things and giving it back to the community type of thing. Like I'm like, you know how we have like flea markets and stuff? I feel like they may go really big again, or like, I know that like they're still big in certain areas, but it almost feels like this is like a normal thing, like going on TikTok and buying things off of online or whatever. Like there's more of a focus of community and like, I know you have like farmers markets already, but it feels way bigger than that. Like people coming from out of town to go here, there and everywhere. Again, I know that does still happen, but it feels more grand. It feels way more grand. And I feel like I'm creating things and adding, like when I'm thinking of doing things for fun, I'm like creating things and I'm thinking of where they can go to someone else. Because I had like a jar and I was creating like my own little like jams or something and I'm handing them to someone. I don't know why that was what I was being shown, but there's a reference there. This feels like a way of life. Like the thing is with like farmers markets and stuff, lots of people go to them, and even with like fairs and whatever, like flea markets, a lot of people go to them, but like it's not like at 100%. Like let's say like 30% or 40% of people go to them, right? Or 50% maybe. It's going to be more than that. And in areas where you never see it, you're going to see it, you know? Because if you're from an area and you're like, this happens all the time, cool. But there may be areas that don't, and they're going to start doing it because it's going to be the norm. It's going to be like a more normal thing. I see a lot as well of like, in terms of like for fun, you know how you have like parks and they have like metal swings and metal like roundabouts and seesaws and slides and all of those things. I feel more like, and I'm thinking of like activities like zip lining and stuff. I feel like there's going to be more of that in the future, but it feels more connected to nature again. See, one thing sparks and then it all connects. The same way like right now, internet was sparked and then everything connects to the internet. If you think about it in this day and age, something's going to happen with nature where everything works around nature. So there's something there's going to be a lot more of outdoor activities, like seeing groups of people. And that, like, for example, in my area, there's a group of women and they go and swim at night in the morning. And I can't say the name of my hometown just to keep a bit of privacy, but they're called Beep Beep, my hometown, Blue Tits. And they go in the morning and they swim together, and it's like this whole community, and they have like a WhatsApp group and they all meet up and they go and swim in the water. And I see more of that. There's more community, like there's more outdoorsy things, there's more things to do, like activity wise, I feel. And it's just going to be like a more natural thing. Like, you know how we think of like what you do for fun, or I'm like, a lot of people will just come home and be on their phone. There's this reference of like, I'm doing things for fun. You know how back in the day they'd have communal pools like outside a lot more? I know like we can still have them now, but they're more far in between. I feel like they may make a comeback, like communal pools, and things where like loads of people go and head out to something that it's going to be revived and it's going to be bigger. That's how this feels. And there's going to be more of them, if that makes sense. I feel like there's a lot more activities, or there's a focus on togetherness. We're going to jump from like the internet side, and I think the internet's what's linking it, because it's like we're opening up to the compassion, we're realizing things, and then it's like we're interlinking into like the earthy side through the internet, which is funny because it's like a paradox, because the internet kind of took us away from it, but then it's also bringing us right back to it, which is just really interesting. It's like in a different way though, because we're going to be more there's going to be more compassion, and there's going to be more things out in the open than there were before, because before there were lots of things still being hidden, but because of the internet it exposed it, as well as it did take us away from everything, but then it's slapping us right back into the earth, if that makes sense, right back into each other in community. That's how this feels. But I do think celebrities are gonna like die off, and I think that like people looking up to things, like that's gonna die off. There's more of like a community type of focus for sure. And I guess even when you look at it now, we're already seeing effects of it, like with TikTok and things like that. Like people want to see like everyday people rather than they do like, you know, back in the day it was like the Kardashians and all of that. Yes, there's still hype for them, but I think that hype is going to die down even more. And I think people just, it's like, I want real, and I think there's going to be a real yearn for it, and it's going to get to the point where there's more of a communal thing, if that makes sense. Well, that went longer than expected. I set out to do a 30-minute reading. We're now 46 minutes in, but when we channel, it feels like 5 minutes for me, and then it's an hour. But yeah, I hope this was intriguing. Just remember with these readings as well, like I can be wrong. Timelines are always shifting, and also this is just what I'm channeling through. There's nothing physically concrete, you know what I mean? Like you can take what's coming through, but you also may get different visions, and that's cool too. I personally believe we're all part of the same. I feel like we all see things through different colors, and we may see things in different ways, and I think that's needed to create that kind of like bigger picture, you know what I mean? Like I'll be able to see through one lens, you can the other, we stick our heads together, we can see the full picture, and that's what I believe with everything. So even if you don't agree or you've seen other things, that's completely fine too. And yeah, so that's what I got, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed. Please let me know down below in the comments if you've had visions or channeled similar things. Let me know down below in the comments how you enjoyed this video. Next week I'm gonna take a look at cats and if they can see into other dimensions. But again, if you have any suggestions you'd like me to look at, feel free to comment them. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. That was fun, and I will see you guys in my next video.